guys! Hello, it is I, Halloween Dan, and today we are talking about some truly exciting things. One thing was very much planned, I definitely had planned for today and was going to talk about today. But the first thing I want to talk about is completely unexpected and something that has only dropped this very morn. I don't know why I go Shakespearean when I get excited about something, but I do, because this thing dropped this very morn. And that thing is for Costco Australia. But still, it could potentially be very exciting for us here in the UK and everywhere, in fact, as well. The second thing I also want to talk about today is what I had planned, which is I'm going to do a breakdown of the teaser trailer that Spirit Halloween dropped only last week that I haven't had a chance to get into yet. We're going to tear it apart. We're going to look at the names that have been dropped in that trailer and see if we can figure out what they might be. So join me. So we start with Costco. If you haven't been with this channel for a long time, and you're not from the UK, you won't really maybe understand just how important Costco is to me, but also to anyone here in the UK that is a haunter. Costco, generally for us, is the big boy. It is the one that people get really hyped up and excited about. It brings good animatronics and props to the market at relatively cheap prices. So it's always a big deal for us here and we always get very excited. Last year was a little bit of a letdown, just a little bit. So we're all hoping that we're going to get better this year. And it seems as though we're off to a very strong start. This morning, my friend Ben over at the Animatronics and Inflatables channel, go and check him out if you get the chance, sent a bunch of pictures to our Discord channel, the UK Haunters Discord channel. Let us all kind of see some amazing new things coming to Costco Australia. Now, it is worth mentioning that just because this thing has come to a Costco in Australia, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go everywhere. This has happened before, where Costco Australia has ended up with things that us here in the UK maybe didn't get till the next year. But fingers crossed this does come to us this year, because it's incredible. Last year, pretty much the best-selling Halloween item that Costco UK did was their big 4-foot groundbreaker skeleton, which, if you know your big groundbreaker skeletons, was based heavily on the Party City version that came out the year before. It was very similar in every way to that Party City prop, except that it had a blackened ribcage, blacked out eyes, it had red LEDs in the eye sockets too, and as well, I think it did make some sounds, like a laughing sound I did hear. And everyone in the community was pretty much settled on the fact that this was the best version of this prop. This Costco one was actually quite incredible, and that if you could get your hands on the Costco one, you pretty much had the best one on the market. And I said in a previous video that I brought out this year when I tried to do some Costco predictions, that Costco would kind of be stupid if they didn't bring this prop back this year, because it did so well last year. But for once, Costco seems to have outdone themselves. They've actually upped the game. And they haven't just brought back the exact same groundbreaker skeleton, they have improved that groundbreaker skeleton. Oh my God! Wow! So as far as I can tell, it's got the same sorts of dimensions as the groundbreaker skeleton last year. There are some people whispering that it's a little bit bigger and maybe it's even some dimension of it is 12 foot. I don't think so. I think this is a 4-foot high skeleton groundbreaker, which is pretty wide at its widest point. So it's very similar in that respect. It's still got the blacked out ribcage and it's still got the sort of black outline of the eye socket itself. But in many other respects, this is a very different looking prop. If you compare and contrast to the skeleton from last year, the first thing you notice is that the bones themselves are a slightly darker hue. They're less bright white, like a freshly cleaned corpse. You know, because that's something people do. And it's this darker, slightly better shaded. looking, more natural looking bone of the skeleton. So that in its own right is an improvement. But of course, the biggest improvement, and the thing that's gonna really excel this above every other, is that head sculpt. Straight out the gate, the shading and the coloration of the head sculpt is far more impressive, far more realistic. But it is the way that the eye sockets have actually been posed so that they're actually in kind of a frown. That is really, really cool. And it's reminiscent of the head adaptation you could get for the 12-foot Skelly from Home Depot last year, where they did this slightly scarier, more intense looking skeleton head. It's the same kind of thing with this. Instead of just having plain old ordinary skeleton socket eyes, the bones of the actual eyebrows are brought down in a furrowed sort of scowl, and it makes the eyes look so much more intense. It also makes the thing look angrier, a lot more unfriendly. It's interesting as well because they've also blackened out some of the teeth in the mouth, giving it a slightly more older, broken up kind of look to it. So it's obviously not a clean, fresh skeleton that's just been polished. Why am I talking about polishing skeletons? That's weird.
God, you're weird, aren't you? I mean, you're really weird.
But that's what I mean. You know, it doesn't look fresh and clean. It looks like a dirty old skeleton that's just broken up out of the ground. But I think the thing that I personally think makes this prop and will definitely excel it to a whole other level of these sorts of groundbreaker props is the eyes. Because this, as far as I'm aware, is the first version of this kind of prop that has LCD eyes. Now, LCD eyes are not everyone's favorite. I'm a big fan of LCD eyes. I think that particularly in static props, they can bring a static prop to life. I think they're really, really cool. There might have been a point a few years ago where they were rather overused and maybe put into things that they didn't need to be put into. But I think in this particular instance, they made a great decision. I think that the LCD eyes definitely bring this character to life, give it a little bit of movement. My guess is it's gonna blink and move those eyes around. There might even be the option to change the design of the eyes, though there is no mention of this anywhere. It would just be cool if it did. I personally think that's a huge upgrade to this groundbreaker skeleton, and I'm very excited. The only thing I'm not overly excited about is the price tag. This is in Australian dollars, but you can see it there on the shelf for $399.99, so $400. I don't know whether that's be the price it was when it came to the UK. It probably would be. I don't know whether that's the before or the after tax price. I have no idea. But either way, $400, and if that translates to £400 if it hits our shores, that's a whole lot of money on a big groundbreaking thing, no matter how awesome it actually is. And if you're like me and you're in the market for maybe a couple of new things this year, that might just be pushing the boundaries just a little too far. But we'll just have to see. This could be their coolest thing again this year. So I don't know, maybe. We'll just have to see. But now we completely shift gears and we move on to Spirit Halloween. I'm very, very late for this party. This footage was released last week on Friday the 13th, and I just haven't had a chance to properly talk about this stuff. So I thought I better jump on this train, dad joke, and get into this, because there's a lot to talk about. So the trailer dropped last week, and just like all their trailers, it's a very quick, very rapid blast through the scenes. It's definitely confirming that the theming this year is this underground subway station, mutants and rats and all that kind of stuff going on. That's the theme this year, and I've got no disagreement with that. I think it's a pretty cool theme as it goes. And just like every year, in amongst the very rapid-paced footage, there are Easter eggs dropped, names specifically of some props that will be coming into Spirit Halloween this year. Now, I'm just going to tell you, straight out the gate, I'm an old man.
You old coot. Yes, that's me. I'm over here.
I've got old man eyes. And I tried to stop the footage and read what all the different bits of graffiti and stuff said. And some of it was very clear and some of it was not. and I had no idea what a lot of it said. So I'm just gonna give a big shout out to GM Haunts. If you don't know GM Haunts, what rock have you been living under? But also, go and follow GM Haunts if you don't already, because he's a great young guy who went through all this and broke it down last week. I watched his video and I was like, thank God for you, GM Haunts, because my old man eyes would not have been able to pick this up. So it's worth saying, I could not read most of this. It's GM Haunts who broke this down. So if you want to go watch his video where he breaks it down, probably better than I will, go and do that. But I'm going to give it a good shot based upon what he told me. So in the first opening scene of this whole video, we come to like this entranceway of a subway station. It's very dirty, very dank, full of grossness. And above the doorway, this kind of caged doorway, there are two scrawled bits of graffiti that when you focus in on them, you can see names. Now, one of them is a lot clearer to me than the other. The one on the left, it is believed, says Bullseye, and the one on the right clearly says Fire Demon. Now, Bullseye, I don't know what that could be. I actually thought initially, Bullseye, it could either be one of two things. It could be a bull, which sounds ridiculous to say, oh, it's a bull, except last year, of course, we had a bear balancing on a ball. Yes, that was obviously had its theme with a clown and stuff, but no one would have really said up until last year that we were going to see a bear balancing on a ball. So who's to know? Maybe we're going to get some big cow, mutant bull creature that's just going insane.
You done lost your damn mind. When you get your damn mind, you call me.
The more likely thing, though, is that this is a clown. Let's face it, it's probably a clown or something carnival related. It's probably got to be one of them ones, you know, you get darts, shooting stalls, or maybe it's bow and arrow or something like that. It's going to have a very carnival theme, I'm guessing. It interests me very little. It'll be interesting to see whether we do get that kind of a clown or we get a big raging bull. Fire Demon, though, does sound very interesting. That sounds, you would think you could figure out what that is from that name. It's going to be a demon. It's probably going to be red. It's going to be flames and fire. Maybe it's going to have a flicker flame effect inside of it. It could be very similar in some ways to the Cremator, where it had that kind of flicker flame effect going on inside of it. I hope that unlike the Cremator, though, it is animated this time and we actually have some animation. I don't know, it could be something like that. We'll just have to see. The next thing we see is the grid cover of a sewer, basically. There's a rat running across it and the name on it says Mutant Sewer Rat. This is the prop we all kind of already knew. There's been leaked images of and stuff. So we knew this rat was going to be coming out this year. A lot of people have compared it to Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But, you know, it could be a lot better than that. It could be really cool. We'll just have to see. But we do know what this is. The next name we see, which is kind of coming up to the top of an escalator, and you see above the escalator as it's sort of heading up, the word Valak, which of course is the name, the real name of the Nun. Now, we've also seen a bit of a leaked image of what could potentially be this Valak prop for this year, which looks as though it's got like a kind of a scissor action contraption, so it could be one that launches forward. Who knows if that was the real thing or just a prototype or not even anything related? Who knows? But either way, we're clearly getting a Nun prop this year, and I know there's a lot of people who are quite excited about that. Then we see on one of these LCD screens the name flash up saying Two-Faced Teddy. Now this has a lot of multiple options. Clearly it's a teddy bear, okay. Two-faced means that it's gonna have some sort of a dual face thing. My guess being one very friendly and pleasant, the other kind of not. Whether it's what the action is, though, could be multiple. It could be one of those things where it rips its face off as like a scare. It could have a pop-up action where it's almost like got a nice teddy head and then it pops up and there's a gross teddy head, or not even a teddy head, underneath it, kind of like what we saw come to the range last year with the 6-foot standing lady. Or it could be one where the head spins, which again, we've seen quite a few of different versions of these where you've got the nice face on the front and then it does a 180 and you've got a pretty gross, dirty, dusty, old, rank teddy bear face on the back, or something else. Who knows? Either way, that sounds like what it's going to be. In the same picture, but scrolled on the floor, you also see graffiti-esque kind of way Back Bend Bonnie, which sounds like it's going to be one of those classic spirit props where you've got like the little girl facing the other way, saying very haunting, creepy things, and then she bends backwards to face you, probably with some sort of a demonic type face, and she's got to be screaming and all that kind of stuff, and you've got to get that gross backbone breaking sound as she does it, a little bit like the Widow. That's my guess there with that particular prop. But again, we will just have to see. In one scene, the train is moving past very, very quickly, and GM Hunt said himself he had to slow it down incredibly. I had to do the same to get hold of this picture, because there's, again, in the graffiti that's written on the side of the train, we see a name that says Monkey Business. Now, Monkey Business, they've done monkey things before. We had Monty, the monkey with the symbols, both last year and the year before. So I don't think it's going to be that. It's going to be something different, clearly. Monkey related, creepy monkey, mutant monkey. I don't know. It could be anything like that. Who knows? Monkey Business. It's going to be a monkey. Then on the doors of the train, we see two names. We see Electrified Corpse, which is a returning prop. We already knew this guy was coming, which is the zombie kind of dead corpse guy that's hanging down in a bunch of electrical wires and just sort of writhing in the wires. Old school prop that's returning this year, but a definite favorite. But on the other door, we see another name, which is Crypt Countess. Now this fills me with joy. Crypt Countess sounds very cool. Sounds like something I would be very, very interested in. I'm imagining Victorian-esque outfitted woman, maybe looking very, very haughty and particular, that maybe she has some sort of a flipping head, or maybe she's got like that she's got a scream or launch forward. It's gonna look plain and simple but ethereal 1 minute, and then it's gonna launch at you and terrify you, make you have a little accident in your pants the next minute. Or it could be something completely different from that, and it made no sense to the name whatsoever, which is something I'm going to talk about in a minute. A little bit like Dark Princess, that was neither a princess or particularly dark. But who am I to judge? We also see, in a much clearer font, the name Lantern Keeper on the side of the train. Now, again, this could be something really, really cool, or it could be something very, very ordinary. It could be Lantern Keeper, so it definitely sounds like something cemetery-esque to me, which always fills me with joy. Anything that's got a cemetery vibe, anything that's holding a lantern, funnily enough, is something I really like. So this could be a Reaper-esque prop holding a lantern. It could be a Gravedigger type prop holding a lantern. It could be a ghost or a spirit holding a lantern. Who knows? I would say it makes sense that it's holding a lantern.
Well, duh.
With a name like Lantern Keeper, though, I just hope that it has some motion and it's not just one of these ones that's very, very expensive and it just lights up and does nothing else. We'll have to see. Another one that was also incredibly hard to see was also written in a graffiti type writing, and it says, Head Case Harry. This could be almost anything. Your brain immediately goes to the idea of it being the head in a case. It's got to be like an asylum kind of thing. Head case is something, another word used for people who've kind of gone a bit crazy, right? So my brain actually went to that kind of almost like 13 Ghosts type thing, where you've got a guy with his head inside a cage or inside of some sort of a case, and he's kind of flailing around. Maybe he's in a straitjacket or something. Maybe it's something completely different, but it's definitely going to be something related to a head inside a box or a case or a cage, something. It could be very cool. It could not. Who knows? Then we move to a scene inside of the train where you've got like a poster up on the wall and also a little bit more graffiti. The poster on the wall is rather self-explanatory. We've got Terrifier Santa Claus, which is clearly Art the Clown from Terrifier 3 dressed up as Santa Claus. They'd be silly not to do this because I think Art the Clown has been such a good seller for them last year. And yeah, why not dress him up as Santa Claus just as he is in Terrifier 3? Give him the axe, give him the blood. It's exactly what most people will want if they're into Terrifier. Next to that, sort of scrawled on the wall, is something that appears to say, Trick or Treat Pete. So this is going to be maybe a slightly more family-friendly prop, a trick-or-treater, maybe a terrifying trick-or-treater. I don't know what that could be. It's clearly going to be trick-or-treat related, and his name's Pete. Your guess is as good as me. And then, scrolled along the bottom of a chair, I thought at first it just said Grave Dan, and I was like, oh, it's me, popping out of a grave. Because that's what everyone wants in their display. Me, my ugly mug, popping out of a grave. To be fair, it would probably scare a few people. But actually, it apparently says Grave Danger, which makes a whole bunch more sense. This is, I think, going to be a groundbreaker, graveyard-esque kind of prop. So again, it's very much in my field of interest. It could involve an actual tombstone. It could just be a zombie-like prop breaking out of the ground, because again, they're kind of going for this zombie vibe this year, so that would make a lot of sense. But we'll just have to see.
It's time to stop!
Then in the LCD screen above the doors of the train, we see Trick or Treat Sam, which is clearly Sam from Trick or Treat, so we don't really need to hyper-analyze that. It'll be cool to see a Sam prop this year, but we've seen many of them before. I'm sure Spirit will do a good job of it though. Then we also see some scrawled bits of graffiti on either side of the doors of this particular doorway, which I could not figure out what these things said. I think you'd have to be a safe cracker to figure out what these things actually say. So I'm going completely off what GM Haunts and other haunters who've done these kind of videos have said that they say. The one on the right apparently says Sinister Scarecrow or Sinister Strawman, which is this other prop we kind of knew was coming to Spirit this year, and that we've seen some sort of maybe leaked footage of a prototype or something a bit like that. So that's what that apparently says. And the other one, no one's overly sure what it says. Many people think it says owl. So owl beast or owl creature or something along those lines. I don't know how they're reading that. I can't read that, but apparently that's what it appears to say. So I'm just agreeing with them. And the last photo is back up on the LCD screen, and it says Twisted Grandma. Sounds cool. Who doesn't like a bit of a creepy grandma prop? There's a few of them about this year. We've seen that one with Morris Costumes where she's holding the zombie head of her husband. Twisted Grandma could be a grandma, again, who's got sort of like a twisted spine. Maybe she leans back at you or something like that. Who knows? It could be really, really cool, that. A gross, creepy grandma who's probably saying very soothing things to begin with and then says something incredibly terrifying. But we'll just have to see. And that's it. That's all we've got from that trailer. We'll just have to see. My favourite phrase at the minute. We'll just have to see.
It's time to stop, okay? No more!
The only thing that can sometimes come out of this, and it definitely happened last year, is that when Spirit drop these names into their trailers or release names before they've released images of the props, it does allow people like myself and others within the community, it allows our imaginations to run away with us at times and imagine things 10 times more explosive and incredible than what these props actually end up being in the end, and that can sometimes have a sometimes disappointing effect because they don't live up to your own imagination. I hope on this case Spirit have got the balance right and they've released these names in a kind of Easter eggy way, and I hope that some of these things are either just so obvious that the name makes sense to the prop, which we had a lot of names last year which didn't make a lot of sense to the prop. The fact that it's not a carnival heavy year is a good thing for me, but what do you think? Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this one today. It's a slightly longer one because I've got so much to talk about. And I hope you've enjoyed trying to figure out what those trailer things are. Also, what did you make of Costco's new skeleton groundbreaker? Is this the start of Costco's season? I seriously hope it is. Anyway, guys, thank you again, and I will see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.